It's Friday, which means it's the Midday Show, the Showbiz edition, with me, Russ Kane, and His Serene Highness, the Count of Cravats. I could have gone horribly wrong.
I was going to say, I'm pleased you went with that title.
I know. I was being a bit brave, to be honest with you. I'm being a little bit brave there, Mr. Phil Day.
I have been called something very similar, though.
Lavat.
Yes, that's the one.
That must have been it. The Count of Lavats.
Yeah.
Or something. Oh, God. I've just split my laptop. I can't believe I've done that.
Just split your laptop?
Yeah, I just, on the rim. Well, it's quite old.
Oh, and your lighting's going. What are you doing? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm in a weird mood.
That's
I'm in a weird mood. I've not had a great day today. Anyway, neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. But what is here? And
well, I'm here. You're there.
Yeah, I know. He's there.
And he's
there. I wonder how they ever do the weather. How do they do the weather?
It's really confusing because it's all in reverse. So, like somewhere over Scotland is actually pointing to Northern Ireland. Probably, it's very strange.
It's with bonjour, good morning, Horace and Phil. Hope you're well, mes chéris.
You know, Francois, I was just thinking of you. How strange is that?
Dirty swine. Why?
What? Why? No, I just thought.
Oh,
I haven't spoken to Francois in ages, and we have been threatening to go for a cheeky little glass of vino here and there once in a while.
Good God!
To do it.
Really? Whew. I'm going to sell that story to the Daily Mail. Frankly, I think I should get at least about 7 and 6 for that.
Well, I think you should as well. It's introductory fee.
Oh, it's an introduction. Should we go to the theatre with our chum?
Oh, do we have to?
Yes, we bloody. Oh God, I'm going to get so many phone calls now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our wonderful absolute shit sometimes. Our lovely theatre critic, Mr. Jonathan Baz.
Well, and certainly lovely to see at least one of you today. But
thank you so much. Oh God, you too. You too. God damn.
As you know, Jonathan, I have huge admiration for you and your work. It was a mere attempt at humour.
Yeah,
which clearly went down like a cold vomit.
Could you not talk about vomit? That brings me back to my dog again.
I don't think she's that bad.
No, oh, my poor baby. She's so. Jonathan, how are you? Yes, what have you been to see?
I'm good. Well, aside from hopping across the Atlantic and rushing back to be with you,
that was the sole purpose. You worked your trip around, obviously being on the Midday Show. Of course,
indeed.
I'm completely convinced by that argument.
Yes. So,
thank you for taking my book on your flight. Appreciate it. How nice of you.
Yep, I'm halfway through it. It really is a whirl. It is a whirl through your Facebook address
of
contacts and names. And it's a ripping yarn as well.
It's
what I quite like about Russ's book, and I'm not being paid to say this, but I will just sort of go with it all the same, is that this amazing undercurrent of sarcasm that is in virtually every single page just shines through. And what I find brilliant is that I can totally hear Russ saying it as those lines come out.
Yes.
So if ever there was a classic example of someone putting pen to paper, I don't know any better example, because obviously I know Russ reasonably well, not very well.
You know me very well. That's not true. You know me.
And as a result of it, I can totally and utterly sort of just see this incredible visualization of a stream of conscience.
I'm inclined to agree with you, actually. It's sort of Dan Brown meets Stephen King meets. I know there's a third name that's yet to come into this.
Dean Koontz meets Dean Koontz.
Meets
Dean Koontz.
But anyway, listen. This
Dr.
is
Zeus.
Dr. Zeus.
Dr. Zeus. Dr. Spock.
Yes.
Right.
The
JB.
Let's
go to the theatre.
Sorry. Right.
I like that. You do a play on that, please. I think that'd be quite good.
Yes. Anyway. Right, theatre. So with all the transatlantic travels, there's not been quite so much theatre in the last couple of weeks. That being said, I was at Shakespeare's Globe this week in the Sam Wanamaker Playhouse to see something that gloriously was actually rather good.
Wow.
And that it's a very pleasant experience to be able to report that. It was the Duchess of Malfi,
Ooh,
John Webster's Jacobean classic. Absolutely, it's Tarantino before they invented films. Quite. There's a lot of sex. There's a lot of violence.
But enough about my life. What about the play?
Enjoyable. To be fair, the good people at Shakespeare's Globe have restrained themselves and have only mildly, ever so mildly, tinkered with the script. Usually the butchery is worse. However, the script has, for the most part, been treated with respect. The theatre was packed, and I think, looking at it, I think it's quite possibly booked out, sold out for the run. Wow. There were a number of school parties in there to see the show as well. And on this occasion, I felt, because I've not felt this in the past, I felt the school parties were well served. The story was nicely told. The violence was gloriously played. The passion and the love was believable. A woman, Francesca Mills, played the Duchess, and of course the chief baddie, this chappie called Bossola, played by Arthur Hughes. I've only ever seen the Duchess of Malfi once before, long before I picked up a pen as a critic, and it was at the Roundhouse a long time ago in the 1980s with Helen Mirren as the Duchess and Bob Hoskins as this evil bastard Bossola. Sort of had real echoes of the Long Good Friday in terms of its casting.
Hands across the water.
Indeed.
I miss Bob Hoskin.
Sorry?
I miss Bob Hoskin. I thought he was great.
He was excellent.
Indeed. He was indeed. And he was masterful as this ghastly Machiavellian person. But anyway, that was a long time ago. Arthur Hughes has stepped up to the role this time. I think generally people are unlikely to get tickets because it is a bit of a sellout. But it was a very, very entertaining piece of theatre. A lot of violence, a lot of death, done well. Good stuff from Shakespeare's Globe. Elsewhere,
can I just ask, when you say they've tampered with it slightly, what have they done?
It's a musical.
Ridiculous.
Is
it going to completely ruin it to the diehard Shakespeareans?
Listen, you've heard me talk about stuff being completely ruined because the language has been completely chopped up. They've dropped in a couple of extra lines here and there to context some bits of the story. Luckily, their choices don't overly impact the direction of the story. And these events, when they do, I didn't make a note of when they'd actually changed bits of the script, but it's very clear where they had done. But I tolerated it largely because 95% of the evening is as Webster wrote it. They also, interestingly, project the dialogue as it's being spoken. So if you're not entirely sure what's being spoken, and it is being spoken well, the words are popping up on projectors, being projected in different parts of the stage. And sometimes when there's madness, the words fly all over the place in disarray when there's mayhem being portrayed on stage. It works.
Is that distracting?
No.
Okay.
There you go. You asked a direct question and you got a direct answer. The answer is I did not find it a distraction.
So it wasn't a gimmick. It was helpful.
No, was it helpful? It didn't detract. It didn't worsen the play in my mind, and it did not detract from the production.
Okay.
So I got along with it, and the important thing is that the actors were saying the words as though they believed in them. Which is fairly important for any play to work.
As I say, which is always helpful, right?
Yes.
Always a plus.
Yes.
And that faxing their role in.
That was the case in this occasion. Elsewhere, I've been involved this week or attending publicity stuff for shows that are shortly to be with us. And the first junket that I showed up for, which was really rather jolly, was at the Palladium a couple of days ago, Wednesday morning, where Dominic Cook, who is directing, and Imelda Staunton, who is starring as
I know what's coming.
Dolly in Hello,
Amazing.
Dolly. Michael Harrison Michael Harrison is one of the country's. There are a handful of really, really good producers. He's one of them. He's got an eye for what makes a brilliant show, and certainly a popular show. And this is a production of Hello, Dolly that was actually scheduled, that was being talked about in 2019. They had it laid up to roll out. And then, of course, the pandemic came along in 2020. Everything got put on ice. As Imelda was saying, they've certainly had long enough to think about how this show is going to be coming to life and to be staged. It was just her and Dominic talking about the show. She referenced how she really has an experience with or her career in musical theatre of playing troubled mad women. She referenced Rose from Gypsy, which was a cracking performance.
Yeah, everyone loved that.
Equally, Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, another sadly demented and troubled woman. But it was a joy actually to mention to her and to ask her in the Q&A to say she her experience is playing mad women, and rather than hear gloriously loving and comic with a bit of tragedy when you look at the history of Dolly Levi. But it was a joy to remind her that 30 odd years ago, maybe 28 odd years ago, she stepped up to the role of Miss Adelaide when the National Theatre reprised their Guys and Dolls, a show that she, in fact, had opened in 1982 when the show first ran, where she was one of the hot box girls in the chorus. And that was we're going to talk about Bob Hoskins again, because Bob Hoskins was Nathan Detroit in that production.
Oh yes.
Imelda was a hot box girl. There's a cracking cast. Included in that cast was the soon-to-be, the future hubby of Imelda Staunton, the rather talented Jim Carter, who in that show played, if you know your Guys and Dolls, played Big Julie, and also doubled up as the transvestite in the Cuba scene.
But let's be honest, to most of us, he is Carson the Butler in Downton Abbey.
Well, indeed. Those of you not blessed with having been in the Olivier Theatre in 1982 will not have seen his Big Julie. So
there's a quote you won't hear anywhere else today.
Can't help but wonder whether or not Imelda has seen it either.
Well,
in fact, they are blessed also. Imelda Staunton and Jim Carter are blessed with a ridiculously talented daughter who, in her own right, has been rather brilliant recently in the National Theatre in Dear Octopus. But that's a separate story. Anyway, Imelda was talking about Hello, Dolly, which opens in July at the Palladium.
Why would they do so? Why would they be so many months ahead by inviting folks like yourself?
What now?
In wherever we are, March.
Now is when they're rolling out the posters. It's when they're rolling out the publicity. It's when they want people to start to be talking about it on channels such as this, on other channels, etc., to get the buzzing a bit more. Because within the theatre world, everyone knows this, that, and the other, but it's actually getting it out there to the
getting bums on seats. It's as simple as that. And how long? This must cost an absolute fortune. So I'm just wondering, how long do they expect the run to be?
I don't think the run is very long. I think it's 10 or 12 weeks or something.
Oh, okay.
And it's a massive cast. There's a cast of 40 people in it. I'm sure, knowing Michael Harrison, the sets will be spectacular. They've tinkered a bit with the show, and they brought in the overture, or the opening song from the movie. And please don't quiz me on this, because I can't tell you what the song is. But Jerry Herman wrote a song for the movie that wasn't in the original Broadway show. And they've taken a look at it and said, you know what, this would be better on stage than the original stage song. So sadly, Jerry Herman no longer with us, but before he passed away, Imelda was able. It was a lovely story. He said, I rang him up and said, would you mind awfully if we tinkered with the show and put this song is the opening number instead of the original Broadway version. And of course, he was charming and delightful and agreed, etc.
Nice. Wow.
It's a shame he won't be around to see this production. I'm sure, obviously, he will have seen it a good few times in his day.
I'm going to be level with you, Jonathan. At the moment, all I've got flying through my head is just the "Hello, Dolly," going. Honest to God.
Well, listen, that's
the only song I know. It's the only one I know from it.
Oh, you must know. Put on your Sunday clothes. There's lots of world out there. Oh, love it. Brilliant. It's a brilliant musical, honestly.
It is a great show. It really, really zooms in on the human condition with a huge dose of schmaltz, of comedy, of love. It's interesting to consider that possibly Barbara Streisand, when was the movie? 1960 something?
1942, I think. Something like that. It's a long time ago.
Streisand was arguably too young because Dolly Levi is a widowed woman in the show. She's a woman with a huge amount of life behind.
So Bette Midler would have been a good choice when she.
Bette Midler, and in fact, Bette Midler ran it on Broadway.
Yeah.
Not so many years ago.
Couldn't get a ticket, apparently. No one can get a ticket for that. Yeah.
And
actually, that's a really good point, because it reminded me, this really annoyed me, because my family and I went to New York in 2017. This would have been when actually, no, I beg your pardon, it's 2018. This would have been when Hello, Dolly was on Broadway.
Yeah.
And we were deciding over the days that we were going to be there. I was tasked with trying to get a ticket or two for a show that we'd go and see. And I absolutely straight away knew that I wanted to see Hello, Dolly, because I thought it'd be brilliant. I knew that my family would know the music, really, really good, blah, blah, blah. And best of all, actually, Charlie Stemp, who is one of the West End's most brilliantly talented performers, in my humble opinion, happens to be doing the run in Hello, Dolly. And I can't believe we went in September and found out that the run finished in August. I was gutted. Anyway, so the long story short,
you're a man of influence. Didn't you say, look, just do one night just for me and Linda and Ray?
What, I wished I could have done, honestly.
So
annoyed at that. But it was really, everyone said it was brilliant.
I did catch that production on Broadway. Unfortunately, I missed Bette as Dolly. But by the time I got to see that show, Charlie Stemp was still in it. Of course, worth mentioning that he's about to be coming back to the Barbican in Kiss Me, Kate.
Mm-hmm.
But it was Bernadette Peters who was in the title role, and
she's good.
She was gorgeous. It worked. It was a magical night on Broadway. So it is a lovely show, and if you can, I don't know what the ticket prices are. I suspect they're unlikely to be
cheap, not cheap.
Yeah, but Imelda is a genius. Dominic Cook on his day also is a genius. It was Dominic Cook. I don't know if you saw the production of Follies that the National Theatre put on. It was reprised. I think it was 2017, possibly.
I think.
Then it came.
God knows.
Then it came back again in 2019.
I think I did.
And the first round of it, before it came back, was Imelda and Jamie D as the two leading women.
I think I saw that.
Follies, which of course is anything but a light and frothy Broadway show. Dominic Cook directed it, though, but directed extremely well. And those two women led the show magnificently. A couple of years later, Joe Riding stepped in to take over from Imelda. But really, really brilliant Broadway stuff. Hello, Dolly is far happier.
Anything else good that's coming up?
Well, the other there's stuff coming up next week that I'll be off to see. There's opening night with Sheridan Smith, which is on Monday night. Then seeing a 2-night. There's on for 2 nights at Drury Lane.
Oh yes. We had them on the Midday show.
Yeah,
I was delighted. 6 Degrees of Separation. I was a celebrant at a funeral, complete strangers, clients, obviously. And it turns out that the lady who lost her partner of many, many years is involved with this show, which you're about to discuss. I mean, you couldn't make
Well,
that
no,
kind of
I'll
connection
talk
up.
about it. I will talk about it after I've seen it, because other than reading the publicity, I know very, very little about the show. However, a show that is coming up in May in Brighton is a show that I know a little more about, having had another very charming pre-show conversation with a woman who you know, Russ, the very talented Susie Kennedy.
Yep. My neighbour.
Will be shortly making her way down to Brighton to rehearse the role of Marilyn Monroe, for which she earns her living extremely deservedly.
Yeah, she's the #1 Marilyn impersonator.
More than a lookalike.
Well, she is. I mean, she's basically. I've known Susie Kennedy for many, many years. There's a weird backstory to this, but we'll tell the backstory of how I helped with this after you've seen the show.
Well, fine. I mean, but I have to say, chatting to her, she really offers such a, from her perspective, of course, because Marilyn's been long dead, but she really offers a very, very well thought out understanding of her interpretation of the woman.
Yeah, she lives and breathes it.
And it was a fascinating conversation, and very much
to show how showbiz I am. Susie Kennedy and I would normally meet in Tesco's. That is the level of showbiz, baby. And we'd sit in her car in the Tesco's car park and have a yak.
Yeah, but if Russ, I'm sorry, you for that really to be credible, you need to be saying Tesco's Beverly Hills. And then...
Not Beverly Hills, no, Tesco's Surrey Quays, actually.
Indeed, yes, Canada
Centre
Water.
of my universe.
Canada Water, from where she hails. But that is a show that will be on in May in Brighton for a very, very short run, far shorter than Hello Dolly, and written by Julie Burchill.
Yep,
of course, shouldn't forget to mention that, and her husband Dan Raven. And Julie has.
You're smiling. Hang on, Phil's smiling. Why are you smiling? There's something going through that mighty brain.
Couldn't possibly. No, do you know what? It is actually, I've just received a very nice message from Francois Pascal that just made me smile. Sorry.
Ugh, dirty dog. It's, again, Jonathan, 6 Degrees of Weird Separation. I've known Julie Burchill for years. I'm a huge fan. And I got a private message from her saying, I'm trying to get hold of Susie Kennedy. I don't know how to get hold of her. I don't know her agent. I don't suppose you know her. I said, yeah, she's a mate. What? I said, she's a mate. Why don't I reach out? And they had it set up within literally about 10 minutes. I just did the introduction, and that's what happened, which was great fun. It's nice when nice things happen to nice people. I'm always happy to help.
Indeed, and that's probably fair to say. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a ridiculously alcoholic lunch with Julie Burchill.
Is there any other type of lunch with Julie Burchill?
There is no other type of lunch. Luckily, it fitted into a Friday that I don't think coincided with this show.
It fitted into then the Saturday, Sunday, and probably Monday afternoon.
Quite. But she has a very clear understanding. Julie has a very clear understanding of the world around her and how to context it into the written word. And she's asked me down to have a look at the rehearsals of the play as it's coming together. So I may well hop on a train to Brighton before it opens. We will see. Okay. But
I'm invited. I can't remember what night. I don't know. I'm supposed to be going down. My diary is chaotic at the moment. But yeah, it'll be nice to see. Do you know that we were going to write a musical, Julie and I? And then we both agreed it. We've got the title, did everything. We thought this would be fun because we always wanted to write together. And then I got busy, she got busy, and we just said, you know what? It was a thing of its time. Let's just leave it. We'll do another subject. But it'll be one of my bucket list things to write something with Julie.
Yep. You both have very distinct styles. And I'd say both extremely readable.
Well, you're kind, but it would be fun to do a play. Really would be fun to do and just rip. Yeah, it'd be great. No, it won't be about chatting in a Tesco car park because that's Susie and not Julie Birch. Anywho, is that about it?
That's about it. It's been a short week for me, but there will be a lot more.
How was America? How was America? Was it good?
America was glorious, actually. The weather for March was spectacular, and able to do what I had to do business-wise in Washington DC. Then jump in a car for a very pleasant drive navigated brilliantly by Waze through the back streets of Pennsylvania to avoid the rush hour of Baltimore and Philadelphia, which was very lovely. Took me through places like Gettysburg. As I was chatting to a friend of mine, because every other store in Gettysburg was a gun shop. And he said, yes,
they've learned nothing.
Pennsylvania is a funny place. You have these liberal strongholds of Philadelphia and oh gosh, what's the town I'm thinking of that's to the west of Philadelphia? It's gone from my head.
Santa Monica.
Totally gone. Anyway, and in the middle, he said you've got places like Gettysburg, which is basically like Alabama. It's been transported in Pittsburgh. That was it. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. And in the middle of that is a bit of an Alabama-like part of the state, such as Gettysburg. But it was beautiful, very lovely scenery up and over the Pocono Mountains and into New York. New York is changing. Every other shop or every block now appears to have a legalized marijuana shop. Which quite
Phil's not happy. Phil's not happy. Jonathan's ecstatic.
Well, I just thought there were enough crazy joints around there when I was there last time.
The smell of weed
stuff.
Yes, the smell of weed is quite prevalent in lots of
it's
parts
like
of
school
the
run in
street.
South London. Try that.
Quite.
Anywho,
the cracks are starting to show.
I think they blooming well are. Lovely to see you, Jonathan. Welcome back to the UK with all its utter charm that it has to offer. Doesn't? And we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Safe travels. Okie dokie. Bye-bye.
Farewell.
Farewell. He's a busy fella. He's a busy fella.
Productions to go and watch. So
it's nice. And, and people more and more with Jonathan are realizing that he plows his own furrow. If he likes something, even if everybody doesn't, he likes it. And if it doesn't like it, he says so. He's not scared to say what he actually thinks. Reminds me of somebody wearing a cravat. Couldn't think who that is.
I was going to say, I don't know who you're talking about.
No. Anyway.
Could it be Chantal Rickards?
She doesn't wear cravats.
She's wearing a cravat.
She wears beautiful scarves.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to look like Phil. I want one day when I grow up.
Jesus, why?
Can I just say #proud?
Yeah, did I like the look, Phil?
Hashtag gonna vomit. Okay. Welcome, Chantal Rickards.
How are you, boys?
Up and down.
Yes.
Up and down. Fair to say.
No, thank you. I mean,
I'm going to get into it.
Spring weather being turned on sometime soon. But other than that,
busy.
Great. Thank you.
Busy. I'm going to kick off with 2 amazing television.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
All of a sudden, he's woken up. You notice this? Chantal turns up. Boom. He's awake. Like giving him oxygen. I don't know what you mean. I really don't. I do say that. I don't know. Right. 2 amazing series that I came across.
I wouldn't mind, but if that's an impression of me, I bet Rory Bremner is panicking.
Yeah, he is in such a panic. Hang on. What's that? Hang on. Rory, no. I'm not going back on stage. All right, mate. See you later. He was worried. You were right. He was worried. Yeah. So was John Culshaw. He'll be phoning in a second. Anyhow, the first one is it's a day from hell. Right. The first one is a German series on, obviously, as you know, I speak fluent German. On Netflix, and it's called The Signal. And it's proper, grown up, kind of science fiction, but don't be put off. Don't be put
Okay.
off. Don't. It's really interesting. The acting is fantastic, and it shows you, unlike that utter crap with Spaceman with Adam Sandler, which just should have gone straight to DVD or whatever it is, just a piece of poo. This shows you it's much more nuanced, interesting. It's called The Signal. Goes a bit bonkers at the end.
Right.
Four episodes. Naturally, I binge watched it right through the night, to the middle of the night, my usual way. Signal.
And is it dubbed or subtitles?
You can have what you like. I use subtitles. I prefer to hear the normal language.
Yeah, me too.
And then, or you can have it dubbed in English. And funnily enough, at the very end, because they were mumbling a bit, I put it into English. And the dubbing artists were excellent. The voiceover artists were excellent. It was really good. It was very good.
Dubbing
So that's The Signal.
my mind.
Right.
And then the second one.
Are you going to tell us what it's about? I know you said slightly science fiction, but give us a bit more.
It's a mission, and they go to join the International Space Station. So it's very realistic.
Okay.
Nothing's, it's not Star Wars or, any of those things.
Yeah.
And it's very real. The International Space Station looks like, a gazillion wires and leads, and it looks a mess. And they suddenly start to track a signal that shouldn't be there.
Okay.
And it's an interesting, at the end, it's interesting. It's interesting, but it's all about families, and it's just very nuanced. It's good, and it avoids some of the horrible tropes. Second one that I just blew me away. Yesterday, I binge watched 4 episodes. Got another 4 to go. I've never seen. Visually, I was like, my jaw was like this. It's called 3 Body Problem. 3 Body Problem. Oh my God. I didn't realize, because then I watched some of the trailers. I didn't realize it was the team that were behind Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
They were looking. Yeah, unbelievable. They wanted to do something in the science fiction field. Came across this trilogy of books, which I'd never heard of. And they've turned it into this 8-part. This might be series 1. I don't know. 8. I'm hoping to God it's got a conclusion. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The acting, the way it looks, the complexity of the storyline. It's called 3 Body Problem.
Yeah.
Just great. I'm going to shut up. That's it.
Strange title.
And where is it? Where is it available?
Netflix. It's on Netflix again.
And do you just want to give us a little hint of what the story is?
The story starts, it's kind of a story within a story. The story starts again with, and it's funny, some of the script was straight out of a book that I was writing before I stopped to do the crime book.
Okay.
It's weird, but I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I must have been right at the time. Anyhow, the story is that scientists all over the world, and when you describe it, I knew you'd ask me this. And I'm worried because when you describe it, it sounds garbage. It sounds like it could be one of those awful Amazon films that cost about 3 and 6. It's not. The production value is incredible. Scientists start to die, either by ending their own lives or dying all over the world. And they start to investigate. And the investigative team is fantastic. The acting is just drop dead brilliant. It avoids every trope that you could possibly imagine. All of them.
And is it set in the future, or is it a contemporary?
No. It's set.
Contemporary
drama.
Set
kind of set now, and it circles around. They've changed the trilogy a bit. It circles around 5 people who are known as the Oxford 5.
Yeah.
Who are brilliant physicists and scientists, except one who dropped out and started a fast food company with crisps, and of course is now worth about £90 million. He just lives the life. He's just eating his products all the time.
Chips are down.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, there we are. It's absolutely stunning.
Okay.
3 Body Problem, stunning.
I will try it. You know, I'm not a fan of science fiction, but you've sold both of them to me, so I will.
Well, they're really, really interesting.
Just a very important little bit of news here. Francois Pascal has said that Chantal, you look very French Parisian today.
I need the beret, Francois.
There you go.
Then you could take it off, throw it, and say, "There's my impression of a famous rock star," and everyone goes, "What?" And you go, "Chuck Berry." Okay, moving on.
God, that's terrible.
I know.
Don't become a writer.
I won't.
You know when it's bad, even I wince. But anyway.
Oh God. Well, I've had an interesting week. Not that you need to know about my week, but I
do. It's got to be better than my week.
Well, I shared a bit of my week, not with Tom Hanks, but I went to, and this really only works for people who are living in and around London, but I went to, it's a sort of digital visual experience called the Moonwalkers, which is just 1 hour only. Cost 20 quid. It's absolutely brilliant. It's 1 hour. It's narrated by Tom Hanks, who is, for a lot of Americans particularly, his is the voice that's a bit like the David Attenborough voice to us, where you feel safe and secure and that life is
like
good.
Henry Fonda was back in the day.
I couldn't imagine.
Back in the day.
Somehow couldn't imagine Sir David Attenborough ever voicing Woody in Toy Story, but if you say
no, but actually he's got a wonderful voice, but he's not Woody. We'd have to think of another character for
we go to infinity and beyond.
And beyond.
Oh dear. Actually, let's think of something for him, and we'll send him a letter saying, "Would you kindly voice it?" There must be something maybe from Jungle Book. He could be Baloo in Jungle Book or something. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject.
The necessities of life.
How it deteriorates from brilliance to utter chaos in nanoseconds. Right.
Ooby-doo, I want to be
experience at King's Cross called the Moonwalkers, and it is about moon landings. That's all it's about, really, is moon landings.
The adverts look great, by the way. The adverts on the tube.
It's an extraordinary experience. You go into a small little theatre, which basically is a box, and every wall is used as a graphics background to tell the story of the moon landings. So you're looking around this wonderful 360-degree experience. Mm-hmm. You're hearing this marvelous voiceover from Tom Hanks, and you're seeing pictures of the moon in a way that you've never seen them before, because they're so sort of big in your eyes and big in your face. And it's a bit like a sort of superannuated, best day out for the history class in London project. But it's really worth going to. Honestly, it was an hour. It actually had me crying when you hear Neil Armstrong talking about landing on the moon. I had tears rolling down my cheeks. It was a beautiful thing to go to. So if anybody wants an hour out in London for 20 quid, go to the Moonwalkers at King's Cross, because it really was it.
Neil Armstrong, understandably, made a mistake when he gave the pre-prepared, because he said that's small. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. What he was supposed to say was that's one small step for a man, one giant leap. But hey, what he did was so beyond. He and Buzz Aldrin and Michael Collins was so heroic and so brave and incredible. They just my all-time heroes.
It was extraordinary.
Just love them.
Completely out of this world.
Yeah, it was absolutely out of this world. But there are some lovely, very personal moments where you see that one of the guys, I can't remember which one it was, on which Apollo mission it was, takes a picture of his family, his wife and their two sons, in one of those sort of, traditional 1970s, very American family photographs. And he takes it to the moon, and all of them have put their thumbprints on it. And they've all signed it on the back, and they've all said something like, "We come in peace." And it's there on the moon. And he took a photograph just of having left it in the dust on the moon. And of course,
then unfortunately he dropped it, and they had to change it so we come in pieces.
No, because it will stay forever. Nothing moves on the moon. The moon is a vacuum.
Sorry, I'm a bit wired.
Anyway, if you're into that sort of thing, it is a wonderful experience. Great digital experience, and sort of nice to see museums doing something completely new. And this is at a place called the Light Room at King's Cross, which is that in fantastic sort of remodeled area of
it's what's it like? Was it
Granary Square?
Granary Square. Granary Square.
Now you're going to love this for a sec. I'm afraid you wouldn't get this on the Today program, but I need to duck out for 2 seconds because my laptop's about to die and I need to plug it in. So,
okay, well, we'll say goodbye. Oh, thank God.
Right.
No, I'll be back in a minute.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't panic. I'm not going.
Oh, dear. Right. So, Russ, I also wanted to say...
I don't like Phil as a rule.
Oh, so witty today.
Really not. Anyway.
Now, I wanted to let you know specifically, because I don't think you've seen it, that Suits is coming to the BBC. Suits, of course, is where Meghan Markle... I thought
never say the M word on this show. Never say the M word.
I think maybe our listeners ought to know, because just in case you missed that American television series, the BBC have bought a whole lot. All right, okay. I won't talk about but what I will talk about is actually something I know tonight at 9 o'clock you are going to be absolutely gripped by the returning series of Beyond Paradise.
Yes,
the
Chris Marshall. Yay!
Marshall series. And that comes back to BBC One tonight. I haven't seen any advanced episodes, so I can't tell you about it. Where we left it last time, I don't know if you remember, he'd bust up with Martha. He'd gone back to see his friends in Sainte Marie, in the Death in Paradise gang.
Yep.
Gone back there, and then they had broken up because she couldn't have children. And anyway, it was all a bit of a to-do, but then she arrives at the end of the episode. So we know that season 2 is going to, or series 2 will start tonight. And there may be a wedding in the offing. The publicity hasn't confirmed it, but you never quite know. But the other piece of news is there's yet another spin-off Paradise series.
No.
Yeah, they've taken the whole...
Is it called Not Feeling Well in Paradise?
No. This is
feeling a bit under the weather.
Is it maybe based somewhere around maybe the Middle East and they call it Halfway to Paradise?
No, go further, Phil. Go further. Based in
Australia, is it? It's not.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Australia.
Oh,
so
okay, what goes on there?
So that it hasn't come out yet. It was shot last summer. I'm sure it will be out on the BBC this year. It's called Return to Paradise. It's about an Australian who works as a copper for the Metropolitan Police and then goes back to Australia and becomes a copper out there. So that's why it's called Return to Paradise. 6-parter, they're trying it out. So we'll see what happens, because clearly the Paradise brand is so strong.
Robert Thorogood just hit the mother load with that.
Yeah,
that mother load. If you've got UK TV, which you suggested to me, and a very dear friend suggested that I watched it, and she was right. That there's the Marlowe Murder Club, which was just terrific, written and produced by Robert Thorogood, who created Death in Paradise. So it's a fabulous show. That was really good, with Samantha Bond in rocking form.
I know, I love Samantha Bond. She's great.
She's terrific.
Graham Pack has the right idea. Can't they just bring back Skippy instead?
Oh, I love Skippy.
What peanut butter? What's peanut butter going to do?
Bush kangaroo.
What of a show, is it?
I grew up with Skippy. Loved it.
Did you?
Yeah.
Skippy.
One of my favourites.
Was it?
Bush kangaroo.
Okay. All right.
I know, I led a very deprived childhood.
Torchy, the battery boy.
No,
what are you doing?
I'm doing an impression of Skippy.
What was the deal with Skippy? Did it save people who've fallen down mine shafts? That's the normal thing.
Well, he managed to communicate with everyone around him in the most extraordinary click language that no one else understood or anyone else
Miriam
knew.
Makeba.
But yet, For some reason, those who knew him could understand him clearly.
Oh, okay. But like Stewie and Family Guy.
But actually, could you imagine how much time they would have saved if they would have actually just had him speak English in the first place? Because every single time they had to repeat it. What was that?
What was there, Skippy? All those shows were the same. What's there, Flipper?
Yeah,
Someone's
Flipper,
caught in
exactly.
the mine shaft.
I know. Yeah. Well, and of course, what was the one with the dog, Lassie?
Lassie.
Bring them all back.
Rin Tin Tin or Lassie.
Yeah, bring them all back. You don't have
Still
to pay
not as good as Twizzle and Torchy the Battery Boy. Who remembers that? Come on, help me out here. Torchy,
Well, actually,
Torchy the Battery Boy.
I don't remember that.
You're way too
on the
young.
point.
You're way too young.
I'll look it up. I mean, I've sort of, I've heard of it, but I definitely haven't seen the program.
See, and then Twizzle would grow. His arms and legs go. And my late mum, used to say, if something was on the top shelf, she said, "Oh, Russell, can you twizzle me down that jar?" It was always called just to twizzle me down. So I would twizzle, jars or packets or whatever mum needed when I was little.
Oh,
there we go. Yeah, I know. It's lovely.
It's a nice memory.
It's a lovely memory of happy times.
Yeah, indeed.
Happy
oh, well, that's rather nice.
Yeah, little Russell, I was happy. Anywho.
Anyway, to a bit more telly, this time New Zealand. A very good Irish New Zealand TV cop drama series that suddenly appeared on the BBC. It's a 6-parter. It's rather good. Quick bit of background. Everybody's got a backstory, and the backstories are long and complicated. What do you want to write it down? Are you writing it down?
Of course I do. I always write your recommendations down because they're great.
It is called The Gone, which is a terrible title.
G-O-N-E.
G-O-N-E. Nobody will remember it.
Nope.
So you'll find it on the BBC 4 section of the BBC iPlayer, but it really is worth it. Everybody's got a backstory. Irish policeman goes to New Zealand to try and find a couple, one of whom is Irish. Young couple have gone missing. There's also some sort of story about a 17-year-old murder of another couple that had gone missing clearly 17 years earlier. There is an Irish journalist who's on the case and wants to find out what the story is. And the daughter that has gone missing, the girl of the couple, is the daughter of a famous Irish judge who's just put away a member of a major criminal family in Ireland.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Everything.
Actually said of the justice world ever watch programs like that and think, maybe I better go easy on these people.
It's always a surprise, isn't it? I didn't see that coming. Who knew?
But the copper teams up with a very, very good actress who is of Maori descent and not an actress I know well. She's absolutely brilliant. They become the sort of slightly mismatched couple. We know how it goes. Yeah, we know how
Shakespeare and Hathaway.
Yeah, sort of. Yes, if you like.
I used to love
it. But it works. It absolutely works.
Good.
The performances are great. It's a 6-parter, and you will rattle through it tonight, Russ. I promise you.
I can't. No, I've got to watch Beyond Paradise with Chris Marshall, and then, of course, I've got to finish the other 4 episodes of 3 Body Problem.
The Benioff and Weiss. Yes, you better do that.
Someone's not going to sleep this evening.
No, I don't. And then when I do, of course, Ebony keeps me. Anyway, I'm not going to go there.
Okay. Well, I found something slightly younger skewing that's probably more for Phil than it is for us. Although, I think we can get.
You say young. Look out of all of us the way I'm dressed, and you think I like the young stuff. But anyway,
Cashmere.
Now, Phil, do you like Guy Ritchie?
Well, I think he's got odd taste in women, but other than that,
do you like his writing and directing, which is quite blokey? It's quite macho.
Well, here's the thing with here's the thing with Guy Ritchie is I wonder whether or not he would ever have been given the chance to write and direct if he wasn't Guy Ritchie. That's why I can't help but always wonder.
Oh, but Guy
But
Ritchie
he's pulled it off.
before.
No, I know it doesn't. I'm not saying he can't do it. It's just that it's always I've wondered whether or not it's because he's Guy Ritchie that he's actually sort of given the chance in the first place.
Well,
I don't know.
Some people get a break, and he's a talented guy. I mean, the Sherlock Holmes films were great fun. I thought they were terrific.
Yeah,
Robert
I mean,
Downey
Anyway,
Jr.
sorry, I digress. But I don't dislike it for what it's worth.
But if you think back to Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, which was very dry, very witty, quite novel, quite
was at the time.
You know,
Oh, is it? But this is not. Oh no, it's not the Lock, Stock series on Disney, is it?
no, it's not the Lock, Stock series. Did you see the film The Gentleman that he made in 2019 with Michelle Dockery and Hugh Grant?
Nope.
No, okay.
I did not.
Well,
but I actually that sounds like a cast I would want to watch. So I should have watched it.
Well, look it up. It's on it's on Netflix or Amazon. But this is the spin-off of that series. So rather like the Mr. and Mrs. Smith film, the Brad Whitner film, there's also a TV series now that came out about 3 weeks ago of Mr. and Mrs. Smith with clearly the different actors. But that's worth watching too. But this film, it's called The Gentleman. And actually, it's rather fun. It's super silly. The basic premise is the Duke of somewhere, can't remember, doesn't really matter, is
Duke
dying at the beginning of the episode. 5 minutes later, he's dead. The two sons
very short series.
arrive for the reading of the will, and he has left everything to his second son, not to his first. His second son is a UN peacekeeper who comes back from somewhere doing his peacekeeping work. And the other son, the oldest son,
Middle
is
East
a drug addict. And so he's left everything to the UN peacekeeping son, who suddenly finds out that the brother has been running a drug farm on the family estate. So that is the basic background. Ray Winston is the head of the crime family.
Of course.
Yeah, Vinnie Jones is the what do you call him? The woodsman.
Actor?
No,
the Baron.
Footballer?
No, the gamekeeper, not the woodsman. The
Gamekeeper.
I mean, it's really silly stuff. But if you love that sort of confection that he puts together of great actors, a very dry, witty script, and a completely nonsensical story, but that you actually want to keep watching, then this is your thing. And it's on Netflix, and it's called The Gentleman. And my kids have absolutely walloped through it. They loved every single episode.
Okay.
And I've watched
add it to the watch list. Now, I have to tell you, speaking of Netflix, if I may, I happened across something yesterday on my little day off. Although I have to say, my day off turned out to be a bit of a disaster. I got an email from a committee that I'm supposed to chair saying, "Where were you at today's meeting?" I had to attend a meeting yesterday, which was not completely ideal, but never mind. We'll look back and laugh at it one day, possibly when I'm dismissed. However, that's to one side.
Today's not the day. Okay.
No, any odd way. I digress slightly because there you go. I'm just adding the gentleman. Don't mind me. All right, there we go. That's on the list. Brilliant. Thank you. Right. Okay.
Use a piece of paper like a normal person.
No, I add it directly to the Netflix watch list. Then it comes up, doesn't it? Anyway, so the documentary that I happened across yesterday was one called Take Care of Maya. Now, I have to say, whatever you say, and also, I don't know whether dyslexia plays a part in this, but Take Care of Maya, I read initially as Taking Care of Maya, which of course would be a more understandable title when you consider of a young girl who was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition which causes her extreme pain, and that's just it's kind of like the pediatric version of MS. Is the best way of describing it. Now, it is possible to grow out of it, which she did, but of course, actually during the time, it's quite unbearable. Anyway, I don't want to give too much away because it's for a documentary. There's quite a few twists and turns. But let's just say it's the aggravation the family go through, but it's not aggravation that you'd be forgiven for thinking that you would experience with a child with some sort of condition or some sort of like rare genetic disease. But actually, whatever you think the problems may arise from that, it ain't nothing like what actually arises from it. So, hang on a sec. Graham Packer's rightly identified, not MS. Sorry, you're quite right. The adolescent, it's the pediatric version, of MS, multiple sclerosis. Thank you, Graham. I'm pleased that you are listening. But even so, ME is chronic fatigue. But anyway, it began with an M. Give me credit.
Okay.
Anyway, but the point is that the actual condition that she has is sort of like the least of the problems. Fascinating documentary, and actually, what it does is it opens this extraordinary can of worms. I'm trying to think of how to word this without giving it away. It opens up an extraordinary can of worms to realize that this family is not the only one to go through this kind of aggravation that they go through, but actually all over America, families up and down the country have gone through something similar. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Do watch it if you get the chance. Take Care of Maya, it's called.
Okay, what's it on, Phil?
Netflix.
It's on Netflix. Okay, I'll track it down.
It's an hour and 43, so you got to sit through it, but it is worth it.
All right. Right, I've got a history question now. How many presidents were assassinated in the United States?
3.
2.
3.
Both wrong. Back to school. 4.
Oh.
4.
Abraham Lincoln, JFK, who else?
Garfield and McKinley.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
How many British prime ministers were assassinated?
1.
Correct. Anyway, forget the British bit. That was just me throwing that in for good measure. Abraham Lincoln, as we all know, was assassinated. He was the first American president to be assassinated. And there is a brand new drama series called Manhunt, which basically turns the whole thing into a thriller.
That sounds
assassinated.
Good.
Yeah,
I like that.
So,
I wonder who got Lincoln's top hat.
Is it as good as Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer? One of my favorite silly films. I
very
love that.
good. I mean, my only problem with it is that anything that comes from history where there was no electric light in the program means it's all powered by candlelight, which drives me absolutely batty. That aside, it's really good. It is on Apple TV, but as I've told you before, you can get a week for free. It's really good. Toby Menzies plays Edwin Stanton, who's the Minister of War, who basically turns detective. So it's a detective tale told over the 12 days after the day of the assassination of Lincoln. And as we know, this is all very much pertinent to today's troubled America. Lincoln came in on the bandwagon of abolish slavery, and he was assassinated by a Confederate who wanted the Confederacy and who wanted to roll the clock back and not allow the North to follow through their rather liberal agenda. So you learn a lot about the history, and actually my American history is pretty poor. So I've learned a hell of a lot by watching it, but it's great. It's done in a really, really good way. And the acting is phenomenally good. And the 2 lead actors are both British. So watch
Excellent.
it. And it's called Manhunt.
Very good.
Really worth watching.
Did you know that around YouTube, I found this mildly hilarious. Someone has created, I don't know whether they've done it with AI or what they've done, but bearing in mind that Lincoln was assassinated around the mid-1800s, so it was around 1860 something, 1860, I think it was something like that he was assassinated. Yeah. Could you imagine that on YouTube there is footage, of inverted commas, of said assassination, and people have absolutely taken it seriously. There is no way that it is the actual footage because it wouldn't have been being filmed. Funnily enough, people didn't have camera phones in those days.
Well, you tell us that now.
I know, but it is hilarious when you actually look at the comments. People are taking this so seriously. So I don't know who the genius was who came up with this, but they obviously want to work in some sort of special effects department because they've really done a very convincing job of it. But it came up, you just reminded me, it sort of came up really randomly a couple of months back. On YouTube, you know how YouTube sort of pours out suggestions of what you might like. Why the hell they thought I'd like a video of a president being assassinated? I've no idea.
They know you well, Phil Dave. They know you well. And your view of theatre tickets.
This is very true. Actually, I have to tell you, I honestly would have thought, if that was for me, I would have thought to myself, if I was one of the people in the audience at the time when Lincoln was assassinated, I really would have been angry that they would have interrupted the performance for that.
Wait for it. Everybody else would have been heartbroken, not Phil Dave, who would have gone to the box office and demanded his money back.
Exactly, quite right too.
That's what Phil would do. I came for an evening out. Not my fault. The president just got shot in the head. I want my money back, please. That would be Phil.
Be worth a shot.
I know.
Stop it. Stop it.
You know me, I'm very gun-ho.
Oh dear, but it wasn't American, American history. I mean, American history is really short. So if you're studying a degree at university, go for American history because there's not much.
I took the American Civil War as my special subject for history A level.
Did you indeed?
Yes, I did. The first time round, I did the English Civil War, and I wasn't so great at it because I really didn't care. And the American Civil War, of course, is the first history I've ever managed to study which had photographs, which made it kind of more relevant. And I found it absolutely fascinating.
It approaches 1 o'clock, peeps. It's been a pleasure. I will depart here, and I will leave you to it because I know you rattle on for a bit.
You've got to
go into extra time, and I will hopefully see you next week.
We're going into entry time. We're going into entry time now. Bye-bye,
2 minutes added.
Now, the film. You're not allowed to. For
He doesn't know how to make a decent exit, does he? Really?
Wait for it. Wait for it. Just wait for it. I don't trust him.
No, he might genuinely have something to do.
Phil? Phil?
Possibly.
Like what?
What's
he do? Produce huge shows on huge broadcasting networks, but apart from that, very little. Very little. We're not allowed to discuss Monday film, are we? Or
we can talk about it now because we haven't seen it yet.
Okay. There we go. There we go. Go on.
So, well, in fact, we're not in awards season, so we can say
you can say what you like then. Oh, good. Okay. I never know what is sub judice.
No, we're going to go and see The Beautiful Game. Is it called The Beautiful Game? Yeah, The Beautiful Game. With Bill Nighy as a football manager.
Yep.
More than that, I don't know a damn thing because I haven't read up at anything at all about it. No. So maybe we're better talk about it next Friday.
We'll talk about it, but this is a glimpse into my life and my relationship with Chantal. Do you want to come and see this one? What's it about? Football? I don't really like. No, thank you. Oh, I don't really know much about football, says Chantal by email. But there's a Q&A with Bill Nighy afterwards. Oh, please, can I? It's Bill Nighy. I love him. Please, can I come? No, I've asked my cousin. Oh, okay. No, my cousin can't come. Yes, I'm back here.
Right, so Monday night, BAFTA, back row.
Hey! And this is marvellous. We've never had this before. This is great. Good morning, watching from Kenya.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
Fabulous.
Fantastic.
That is
Thank
really
you,
good
John
to know.
McCurry. Thank you. John McCurry, I beg your pardon. My eyesight's rubbish.
Oh, lovely.
Bless you. I have a wonderful weekend, Chantal.
I certainly will.
Thank you for your marvellous guidance, as always. And the record figures again today, watching the show all over the world, including America and Kenya. What more do you want?
We love it.
We do. We will see
have
you
a great weekend.
See you
and everybody else have a great weekend.
See you next week. And that, as they say in showbiz, is that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for everybody who's part of the Midday show. Neil Long, of course, Chantal Rickards, Phil Dave, all your fantastic comments. Bless you, watching in numbers I could have only dreamt of. I'll be back on Monday with Neil and our guests. Until then, have a very safe and wonderful weekend. And as I always say, try and stay out of trouble.